Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are back in War Thunder looking at the devlog for the F4D1 Skyray. This is the vehicle which is going to be available for the Summer Quest Aviation side of things, and you can get the vehicle at level 8 or 8 marks of distinction, and if you want to sell it on the marketplace you have to get to 10 stars, and you also get a nice camouflage for it at 9 stars. So I would always say it's best to get to 10 stars, but at least if you only want the machine, you only have to get through 80% of the aviation side of things to be able to get it. This is going to be a rank 6 US fighter. It's going to be an event vehicle, so it won't come spaded and also will not have the premium bonuses on it, but at the same time, it definitely gets the style points. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Let's get into the history of the F4D. The project for the F4D1 Skyray started as a flying wing fighter aircraft, and it was intended for the 1947 high-speed, high-altitude carrier-based interceptor competition. With the clarification of the requirements, and after the initial tests, the fighter acquired a more traditional layout, with a fuselage protruding in front of the deltoid wing, and instead of the planned 2 engines, 1 was mounted. The prototype made her maiden flight in January of 1951 and was accepted into service only in April of 1956. During testing, the fighter set several national and world speed and climb rate records, including the world absolute speed record in October of 1953, where it accelerated to 753.4 miles per hour, which is 1,212 kilometers an hour. So looking at the F4D1 Skyray, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty fun vehicle. It has a really nice armament on it, it seems to have really nice speed and general acceleration, and also doesn't really lose in any other factor when it comes to its maneuverability. Because of the design of the vehicle, it should be pretty flexible, a decent roll rate, a decent turn rate, and all of those things. It has quite a beefy engine, which does have access to an afterburner, and also can go supersonic at higher altitudes. So the vast majority of the time in the game, you won't be going supersonic. It will probably act more like the F-11F, the Tiger that we have in the American tree as the event vehicle. But this thing, it is able to climb at 90 meters per second, so it'll be like a bullet going off the ground, which will be quite nice for it. And also, at the same time, the armament backing that up is really, really nice on the vehicle. You're basically looking at 4 forward-facing 20mm Browning Colt Mark 12 Mod 0 cannons. As somebody who's used these on a lot of American vehicles, the 20mm are fantastic, very high rate of fire, very good muzzle velocity. You just have to watch out for the amount of rounds that you have, because you'll run out of ammunition incredibly quickly if you're not careful. Stuff like the Demon really taught me the value of the 20mm and also having them backed up by the AIM-9B Sidewinders. It also can get access to rockets, some FFAR pods, it can get up to 114 unguided rockets, which will be quite nice, and this thing also will have a radar, but it won't have semi-actives. When it comes to its missiles, it will only have access to AIM-9Bs, so very similar loadouts to the Demon when it comes to its air superiority offensive weaponry, so 4 AIM-9Bs and 4 20mm Brownings. The 20mm are actually mounted on the wings though, so convergence is going to be an issue to be able to hit the targets accordingly, but the AIM-9Bs obviously won't have to worry about that too much. This prize is super cool, and I know a lot of people have been going on about the fact that, you know, oh, it's another American event vehicle, and the only thing I can say is you're probably going to have to get used to this. If you have a look at the American technological stuff between 1950s, 60s, and 70s, it is fair to say they pretty much dominated when it came to the amount of vehicles that they produced. As the old verbiage goes, the largest air force in the world is the American Air Force, and the second largest air force in the world is the American Navy. So That's basically what's going to go on when it comes to War Thunder as well. We already see a jet added every update, and it won't be a surprise if all of the events have at least one or at least a round for the time coming. But this F4 is just looking super nice. It is a beautiful design. The only issue that this thing is going to have is the same issue that other vehicles from 9.0 to 10.0 have, because I'm pretty sure this thing is going to sit at either 9.3 or 9.7. The issue is going to be lack of countermeasures. This thing is way before countermeasures were introduced on vehicles, and that kind of shows how far America was ahead when it came to these things, this being a late 40s, early 50s vehicle at the end of the day. So AIM-9Bs won't be the best missiles that it'll have when compared to other vehicles, so the armament is slightly lacking if you compare it to other vehicles, like maybe stuff like the A5C you may fight, which has very powerful missiles, and a lot of other vehicles, especially 10.0, 10.3, have very powerful missiles, like the R60s, which roll around on stuff like the MiG-21, SMT, and other vehicles. But at its BR, if it's at 9.3 or 9.7, this thing will be super fun to play. It's going to be so dependent on the matchmaker, though. So dependent on how good this thing is. And it's the problem that Jets has had for a long time, and it's not going to get any better, because there are just very big leaps in technology when it comes to jets, mainly when it comes to their offensive armaments. Missiles is one of the large areas for it, where the difference between something like an AIM-9B and an AIM-9J, for example, is massive, or an AIM-9B and an AIM-9G, or even an AIM-9P, which you could probably see in this thing as well if someone's flying a Mitsubishi F1. So it's going to be fun to fly, it's going to be flexible, it's going to be fast, it's going to be a relatively unique design as well, but also at the same time, it's going to be missile food if flown incorrectly, or even just in the wrong matchmaker, which will unfortunately probably happen to it because it's in that little area. I hope that we get more of these really cool American jets, which have a really interesting look to them. I am looking forward to playing this one. It does suck, it's an event vehicle. I wish they could do something with event vehicles where they give you some basic modifications to make it not a horrific stock experience, because all of these vehicles, they might be pretty good at their BR, but they're going to be absolutely worthless when they're stock, which is one of the problems that you have. Hopefully this thing gets some stock AIM-9Bs, maybe 2 of them, to try and help it out when it's getting ground through. But if not, then it's going to be pretty tough to grind this one out. But once it's spaded, should be pretty fun. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.